Scientists estimate that less than 5% of Earth's oceans have been explored, and you won't believe what's hidden in the depths. From shark-infested underwater volcanoes and ancient cities frozen in time to eerie cemeteries and bizarre alien-like species, the discoveries are both fascinating and terrifying. Here are 15 of the most chilling things ever found by deep-sea divers. Number 15. Treasures from the wreck of the unbelievable. It's described as an underwater fantasy with sculptures and hundreds of other objects fashioned to look as though they were antiquities dredged up from the bottom of the sea by British art icon Damien Hirst. The artist has filled not one but two museums with hundreds of objects in marble, gold, bronze, crystal, jade, and malachite. Heroes and gods are supposedly lost in a legendary shipwreck 2,000 years ago, and now raised from the Indian Ocean at Hirst's personal expense. It's both marvelous and beautiful, prodigious, comic, and monstrous. The original art objects appear barnacled and eroded, as if raised straight from the depths of an ocean grave. They reappear, damage repaired, missing limbs recreated, as the priceless possessions of the wealthy collectors who once lived in that palace, and then again scaled down in rock crystal or gold. This has been Hirst's own business model for decades, recycling his works in different sizes, media, and prices. The works filled the Palazzo Grassi and the Punta della Dogana, two museums run by François Pinault, the owner of Christie's auction house. Number 14. The SS Montgomery. To visitors unfamiliar with the hazard lurking in the waters just beyond the town's seawall, a terrorist mermaid is an undeniably bizarre piece of public art. But to locals, she's a chilling reminder of the wartime relic that some believe threatens the town and the lives of the inhabitants. The wreck of a World War II-era ammunition ship, the SS Richard Montgomery, is clearly visible from the land, its rusting masts rising ominously from the water. The sunken vessel contains disturbing cargo, 1,400 tons of high explosives, which many fear could go off at any time, potentially causing one of the most devastating non-nuclear peacetime explosions ever seen. In 1944, the SS Richard Montgomery, a Florida-built cargo ship laden with 1,500 tons of explosives, ran aground and broke in half in the Thames estuary in England. The ship was never salvaged and remains in place to this day, where it may be a ticking time bomb that could set off damaging rogue waves. But most agree that the bombs are relatively safe as long as they aren't exposed to sudden shock, friction, or heat. Recent surveys confirm the wreck is gradually disintegrating, and its deterioration could trigger a detonation of the remaining explosives. Number 13. Alien life forms of the Atlantic. Submarines are a tense subject between Russia and Sweden following a series of military incidents during the Soviet era. But now, Russia hopes to ease tensions between the two countries and suggested they join forces to salvage a vessel which sank 100 years ago. Even though it sank a century ago, concerns about active explosives on board were very real. According to the divers who found the submarine, it was a modern model and appeared to be intact, suggesting that the remains of the crew may still be on board. The discovery reignited discussions about historic naval encounters and the possibility of conducting a joint investigation into the vessel's final moments. Experts speculated that retrieving the submarine could provide valuable insight into early 20th century naval engineering and warfare tactics. The conditions of the wreck, largely undisturbed due to its remote location, make it a well-preserved time capsule from World War I. Some historians believe the vessel may still hold confidential documents, equipment, or even personal belongings from the fallen crew. However, any attempts to raise the wreck would require careful planning due to the risk of unexploded ordnance still lurking inside. Given the geopolitical tensions surrounding military wrecks, both countries have approached the situation with caution, emphasizing the need for a respectful and historically mindful recovery effort. It was reported that a foreign mini-submarine, 66 feet long and 9.8 feet in diameter, was eventually located by the Swedish diving group Ocean X Team offshore, on the east coast of central Sweden. The pictures from the wreck show that the yellow submarine was standing on the sea bottom with its tower pointing straight up. The diving group informed the Swedish armed forces, and video material from the wreckage was handed over for analysis. The wreck was most likely that of the Imperial Russian Navy Salm-class submarine, which sank with all hands on active service in 1916 after a collision with a steamship in the Sea of Holland. Number 12. Ghostly Soviet submarine. Submarines are a tense subject between Russia and Sweden following a series of military incidents during the Soviet era. But now, Russia hopes to ease tensions between the two countries and suggested they join forces to salvage a vessel which sank 100 years ago. Even though it sank a century ago, concerns about active explosives on board were very real. According to the divers who found the submarine, it was a modern model and appeared to be intact, suggesting that the remains of the crew may still be on board. The discovery reignited discussions about historic naval encounters and the possibility of conducting a joint investigation into the vessel's final moments. Experts speculated that retrieving the submarine could provide valuable insight into early 20th century naval engineering and warfare tactics. The conditions of the wreck, largely undisturbed due to its remote location, make it a well-preserved time capsule from World War I. Some historians believe the vessel may still hold confidential documents, equipment, or even personal belongings from the fallen crew. However, any attempts to raise the wreck would require careful planning due to the risk of unexploded ordnance still lurking inside. Given the geopolitical tensions surrounding military wrecks, both countries have approached the situation with caution, emphasizing the need for a respectful and historically mindful recovery effort. It was reported that a foreign mini-submarine, 66 feet long and 9.8 feet in diameter, was eventually located by the Swedish diving group Ocean X team offshore, on the east coast of central Sweden. The pictures from the wreck show that the yellow submarine was standing on the sea bottom with its tower pointing straight up. The diving group informed the Swedish armed forces, and video material from the wreckage was handed over for analysis. The wreck was most likely that of the Imperial Russian Navy Salm-class submarine, which sank with all hands on active service in 1916 after a collision with a steamship in the Sea of Holland. Number 11. 11,000-year-old Maya Mine. In 2017, a pair of divers shimmied fin-first through a narrow passageway in a water-filled cave beneath Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. They had already swum for nearly half a mile through the cave system, winding around spires of rock jutting from the ceiling and floor, when they finally arrived at a threshold that spanned a mere 28 inches across. In the chamber that lay beyond the tiny passage was an ancient scene preserved in stunning detail, an 11,000-year-old mining site for red ochre pigments, complete with tools and fire pits. The cave system, now submerged, was once dry during the Ice Age, allowing ancient inhabitants to navigate and mine the valuable ochre pigment. The miners may have used the pigment for ritualistic or symbolic purposes, such as body painting, rock art, or burials, similar to how it was used by early human cultures worldwide. The meticulous organization of the site, with pathways and stacked stones, suggests that these ancient miners had a systematic approach to extraction and navigation within the cave. Additionally, researchers believe that flickering torchlight may have guided them through the dark, illuminating the reddish mineral veins within the cavern walls. The presence of fire pits and soot-covered ceilings indicates that they spent extended periods underground, perhaps working in teams to transport the pigment back to the surface. The discovery raises new questions about how early humans adapted to extreme environments and why they were willing to venture into such perilous depths. Among the most intriguing finds made during this history-making dive were hammers crafted out of broken stalagmites and stalactites, piles of rocks scattered on the ground like a trail of breadcrumbs, and a soot-coated ceiling combined with traces of a rich red pigment known as ochre. These remnants pointed toward the site's identity as an 11,000-year-old mine. The discovery also gives a rare glimpse into the lives of some of the first residents of the Americas, who lived in Yucatan thousands of years before the rise of the ancient Maya state. Yet, researchers don't really have an explanation for why the region's ancient residents made the dangerous trek into the cave system. Number 10. Volcanic sharks. Mysterious sharks living inside an active underwater volcano were investigated. Found in the submarine volcano Cavachi, about 20 miles off the coast of the Solomon Islands, scientists sent in robots to study the peculiar beasts who managed to survive in the hostile volcanic environment. Several species of shark, ranging from reef sharks, hammerheads, and scalloped hammerheads, make regular appearances there. Cavachi is one of the most active submarine volcanoes in the southwest Pacific Ocean. Scientists were shocked to find not just life but large carnivores circling its turbulent base. The presence of these sharks raises several questions about their ability to withstand extreme conditions, such as high temperatures and acidic water caused by the volcano's activity. Some researchers speculate that the sharks may have adapted by developing specialized physiological traits, like heightened resistance to acidic environments or unique methods of processing oxygen. Others believe that the volcano's periodic eruptions create rich feeding grounds, drawing the sharks to the area despite its dangers. The fact that these creatures can live in such extreme conditions could provide valuable insight into how marine life may adapt to future changes in ocean chemistry due to climate change. Studying these sharks may even help scientists understand how ancient marine animals survived past mass extinction events. After dropping video cameras, bait, and lights, an instrument package called a dropcam into the deep sea off the Solomon Islands as part of their volcano work, the idea of there being large animals like sharks hanging out and living inside the volcano conflicts with what experts knew about the Cavachi volcano, which is that it erupts frequently. Exactly why sharks inhabit the Cavachi volcano remains one of the world's enduring marine mysteries. Scientists believe the sharks must have mutations that let them thrive in the harsh environment. Now it's time for today's topic. A chilling mystery has emerged from the depths of the Pacific Ocean, Two highly experienced divers working on a deep-sea cave exploration for a project sponsored by Oceanic Research Institute, ORI, mysteriously vanished shortly after transmitting a single eerie image to the surface. The image depicts an enormous, otherworldly creature lurking within the massive underwater cavern, with tentacles stretching in unnatural directions and glowing, orb-like eyes fixated on the camera. According to leaked details on Reddit, the divers were part of a classified mission aimed at studying newly discovered marine ecosystems deep within the Mariana Trench. Sources claim that the ORI, in collaboration with global authorities, has been actively suppressing the details of the divers' disappearance, stating only that technical issues led to the loss of contact. However, the sudden leak of this haunting image has fueled rampant speculation. Could this creature be an undiscovered predator hiding in Earth's last unexplored frontier? Eyewitness accounts from team members claim the divers' last message described movement within the cave, hinting they were not alone. While official channels deny the photo's authenticity, the growing evidence raises unsettling questions. What happened to the divers? And what secrets are lurking in the pitch-black depths of our oceans? Number 9. Drilling into the abyss. Recently, floating in the ocean south of New Zealand, a team of scientists was investigating the end of the dinosaurs and trying to predict the future. Raising up sections of sediment and ancient rock from beneath the South Pacific. With these samples, scientists are probing some of our most long-standing and most urgent questions. Working 7 days a week, rotating 12-hour shifts for 60 days, it was no cruise for the 30 scientists drilling at sea. Drilling takes place all hours, with 20-foot-long core samples hauled to the surface for immediate analysis. These sediment cores hold clues about Earth's past climate, including the temperature fluctuations, volcanic activity, and even asteroid impacts that shaped the planet over millions of years. By examining microfossils trapped in the layers, researchers can reconstruct what life was like in prehistoric oceans and how marine ecosystems responded to catastrophic events. The cores also provide insight into the movements of tectonic plates, helping scientists understand how continents have drifted and how ocean basins have formed and evolved. Some of the deeper layers contain chemical signatures from the asteroid impact that wiped out the dinosaurs, offering rare evidence of that cataclysmic event. Cores are then split lengthwise and stored in a refrigerator for use in further research. They use the JOIDS resolution, or JR for short, a research vessel that drills into the ocean floor to collect and study core samples to better understand climate change, geology, and Earth's history. The ship was first launched in 1978 as Sedco BP-471, an oil exploration vessel. She was converted for scientific use in 1984 and began working as the main research ship for ODP in January 1985. The JR was modernized during 2007, 2008, and returned to active service in February 2009, following an extensive renovation of her laboratory facilities and quarters. Number 8. The Lost City of Heraklion. The city of Heraklion was hidden away for thousands of years, submerged deep under the sea. Sitting at the entrance to the Nile River, the city was said to be Egypt's main international trading port, sporting towering statues, enormous temples, and a maze of bustling canals. In one of history's greatest archaeological finds, a French scientist rediscovered the sunken city in the 1990s, buried under centuries of Nile silt. Many of the ruins and artifacts dragged from its murky depths remained perfectly preserved thousands of years later. Underwater archaeologists used a high-tech scanning device to uncover new parts of the ancient settlements. They found remnants of colossal stone pillars, intricately carved inscriptions, and vast storehouses once filled with goods from across the Mediterranean. Evidence of daily life, including pottery, jewelry, and ancient tools, provided insight into the city's bustling markets and thriving commerce. The discovery of ritual objects and sacred relics suggested that Heraklion was not only a trade hub, but also a significant religious center where Egyptian gods were worshipped with grand ceremonies. Among the underwater ruins were 64 ships, 700 anchors, a treasure trove of gold coins, statues standing at 16 feet, and most notably, the remains of a massive temple and the tiny sarcophagi for the animals that were brought there as offerings. This is the city where Paris and Helen hid before the Trojan War. Some historians also believe Cleopatra III was installed as pharaoh in this temple. The ruins and artifacts made here are remarkably preserved and give a glimpse into what was, 2,300 years ago, one of the great port cities of the world. Number 7. Sudan's underwater pyramids. An underwater archaeologist went to extraordinary lengths to access a pharaoh's tomb underneath the pyramid. Pierce Paul Kreisman and his team were the first people to go into the tomb for 100 years, and in that time it had become harder to access because of the rising water level. Nastison's watery tomb is located at the ancient site of Nuri, which sprawls across more than 170 acres of sand near the east bank of the Nile River in northern Sudan. Seen from the sky, Its most commanding feature is an arc of some 20 pyramids built between 650 BC and 300 BC that appear strung together like gems on a delicate necklace. In 2018, the team located the 65-step stairway and began excavating. But when they got to around 40 stairs down, they hit a water table. Undeterred, they used specialized diving equipment to navigate the submerged passageways, slowly uncovering long-lost relics buried beneath centuries of silt and debris. Among their discoveries were ancient stone carvings, intricate hieroglyphics, and remnants of offerings left for the pharaoh's journey into the afterlife. The presence of intact burial goods suggested the tomb had remained relatively undisturbed since antiquity, a rarity in the world of archaeology. There are 3 chambers with these beautiful arched ceilings, about the size of a small bus. You go into one chamber, then into the next, and it's pitch black. You know you're in the tomb if your flashlights are on, and it starts revealing the secrets that are held within. These pyramids mark the burials of Kushite royals. The Kush kingdom lasted for many hundreds of years, and in the 8th century BC, they conquered Egypt, which they ruled for almost a century. Number 6. Israel's underwater treasure. Divers found a priceless hoard of gold coins off Israel's Mediterranean coast. A record haul of 2,000 coins in Caesarea Harbor belonged to an era which ruled much of the Middle East and North Africa from 909 to 1171. The city remained important, with its history well recorded until 640 AD, when it was the last city in the region to fall to invaders. After that, records are spotty. The consensus is that the metropolis faded from glory and its role on the social-political scene. It was ruined, sacked, and resettled by small communities before eventually becoming home to a small fishing village in the late 1800s. But the discovery of the coins has changed that story. The treasure trove, believed to have belonged to a shipwrecked vessel or a hidden royal treasury, provides a glimpse into the region's once thriving economy. Experts identified the coins as belonging to the Fatimid Caliphate, a powerful Islamic dynasty that controlled vast territories during the Middle Ages. Some of the coins bore the marks of caliphs who ruled during the peak of the dynasty, further solidifying their historical value. The pristine condition of the gold suggests they were barely used in circulation before being lost at sea, hinting at an abrupt and unexpected event that led to their submersion. The scuba divers discovered the largest trove of gold coins ever found off Israel's Mediterranean coast, pieces dating back more than 1,000 years. They were exploring an ancient harbor in Caesarea when they came across the gold. They collected several coins and quickly returned to the shore to inform officials. It was by pure chance that members of a diving club in the Roman-era port had come across these coins, which weighed almost 20 pounds but were described as priceless. Number 5. The Apollo 11 engines. Amazon founder and CEO Jeff Bezos rescued sunken treasures in the Atlantic recently. Components of 2 F-1 rocket engines from Apollo 11, the first mission that took U.S. astronauts to the moon. One of the conservators discovered that the number 2044 had been stenciled in black paint on the side of one of the massive thrust chambers. He found it while using a black light and special lens filter. This 2044 was not a mystery according to Bezos. It corresponds to NASA number 6044, the serial number from the Apollo 11 mission. The discovery was an incredible moment for space enthusiasts and historians alike, as the engines had remained on the ocean floor for more than 4 decades. Using deep-sea sonar and remotely operated submersibles, Bezos and his team meticulously mapped the seabed before carefully retrieving the massive components. The engines were heavily corroded and covered in marine growth, but their structure remained remarkably intact. After their recovery, the artifacts were transported to a conservation lab, where experts worked to restore them for public display. An internet retail mogul might seem an unusual patron of Apollo 11 artifacts in history, but Bezos said he was inspired to dream big by watching the original moon mission as a 5-year-old. When NASA's mighty Saturn V rockets were launched on missions to Earth orbit and the moon in the late 1960s and early 1970s, the 5 F-1 engines that powered each of the boosters' first stages dropped into the Atlantic Ocean and sank to the seafloor. There, they were expected to remain discarded forever. Then, Bezos announced his private secret expedition and located what they confirmed to be the engines from the Apollo 11 mission. Number 4. The Baltic Sea Anomaly. The 200-foot-wide object, 300 feet below the Baltic with its staircase leading to a dark hole, has baffled oceanographers since its discovery. The team who discovered the anomaly while hunting for shipwrecks returned to the site with a remotely operated vehicle. In the annals of unexplained mysteries, the Baltic Sea Anomaly is one of the most bizarre deep-sea finds of the past decade. They quickly picked up on the anomaly due to its circular shape and distinctively straight protrusions. Adding to the mystery was what appeared to be an extensive trail, which some speculated could be evidence that a crash landing may have taken place. Further adding to the intrigue, sonar scans revealed unusual grooves and ridges along the surface of the object, unlike any natural rock formations found in the region. Some researchers claimed that the object displayed signs of advanced geometric patterns, suggesting it could be an artificial structure buried beneath layers of sediment. Divers also reported strange electromagnetic disturbances, with equipment mysteriously failing as they approached the site. One of the most perplexing findings was an apparent stair-like structure leading to an entrance-like cavity, fueling theories that it could be an ancient lost monument or even an alien spacecraft. Despite numerous expeditions, scientists remain divided on whether the anomaly is simply a rare geological formation or something far more extraordinary. But a geologist studied a few rocks that divers picked up from the site, and there wasn't a single alien life form among them. Instead, there were mostly regular stones that everyone would expect from the kind of glacial base in the Baltic Sea fields. But most experts agree that the structure is probably nothing close to man-made. No doubt, the site has intrigued conspiracy hunters since it was discovered, with inexplicable technical problems plaguing anyone who tries to investigate. The object could be at least 140,000 years old. Number 3. Ghost Fleet of Truk Lagoon. From shipwrecks to sunken tanks to human remains, Truk Lagoon is among the biggest and eeriest underwater graveyards on Earth. But from massive wreckage, a diver's paradise is born. The South Pacific's Caroline Islands harbor the ghost fleet of Truk Lagoon. In a surprise attack by American allies in World War II, approximately 250 Japanese aircraft were destroyed, and more than 50 ships sunk. Most of the fleet remains in exactly the same spot it was left, largely forgotten by the world until the late 1960s. The 1969 film Lagoon of Lost Ships explored the wreck-littered lagoon, and many of the sunken ships were then still full of bodies. As wreck divers brought attention to the site, Japan began recovery efforts. Despite these efforts, many of the wrecks remain untouched. Their skeletal remains now home to vibrant coral reefs and marine life. Divers exploring the sunken battleships and freighters often encounter eerie remnants of the past. Rusted rifles, broken sake bottles, gas masks, and even human bones scattered among the ruins. Some wrecks still contain sealed-off rooms, preserving artifacts from the war that have never seen the light of day since their watery demise. There are even sunken tanks, trucks, and torpedoes frozen in time, encrusted with barnacles and sea fans. Over the decades, the lagoon has transformed into an artificial reef, drawing marine biologists and historians eager to document its secrets. Yet, some wreck divers often wonder, do the anguished souls of the crew and passengers who perished haunt those who dare to explore the shipwreck's remains? If you dive wrecks long enough, you will hear tales of divers who were left with a bone-chilling feeling of this sort. Some indicate there was merely an eerie mood cast over a wreck, while others have suggested that they saw something down there that they can't explain. A creepy place to die for sure. Number 2. The Lion City, China's Atlantis. The Lion City, otherwise known as Shirchong, is an ancient submerged city that lies at the foot of Five Lion Mountain. Now located over 100 feet beneath the spectacular Thousand Island Lake in China, officials took a renewed interest in the sunken city after discovering that, despite more than 50 years underwater, the entire city had been preserved completely intact, transforming it into a virtual time capsule. The Lion City was built during the Eastern Han Dynasty and was set up as a county in 208 AD. It was once the center of politics and economics in the eastern province of Zhejiang. But in 1959, the Chinese government decided a new hydroelectric power station was required, so it built a man-made lake, submerging Shirchong underwater after erecting a dam now known as Qiandao River Hydroelectric. The historical metropolis was slowly filled with water until it was completely submerged. Surprisingly, the lack of currents and sunlight has kept the city's wooden structures and intricate stone carvings in pristine condition. Ornate archways, towering pagodas, and well-preserved staircases remain undisturbed beneath the lake's calm surface. Some of the buildings still have their original wooden beams, which would have decayed if exposed to air. Due to its eerie yet breathtaking state of preservation, divers have described the city as an underwater Pompeii, frozen in time. While experts continue to study and map its ruins, new discoveries are constantly being made about the daily lives of the people who once thrived here. A maze of white temples, memorial arches, paved roads, and houses hidden 130 feet underwater. This is China's real-life Atlantis. By 2017, the place had been opened up to tourists as a diving site and underwater museum of the well-preserved architecture and carvings dating back 1,400 years. Number 1. New Jersey Train Graveyard. This graveyard was found by chance by Paul Hepler back in 1985. The New Jersey Train Graveyard. He was mapping the bottom of the ocean when, over the graveyard, his instruments picked up on two huge metal objects that turned out to be trains. They were small locomotives, weighing about 15 tons and self-contained. What remains a mystery, however, is how the two steam engines came to be sunk. There are no historical records of them being lost. In fact, there are no records of the engines being built in the first place. It could be that the records with those details had been lost or destroyed in an accident, or perhaps they never existed at all. Adding to the intrigue, the locomotives are of a type known as Planet Class 2-2-2T, a rare model that was mainly used in the mid-19th century but had never been documented as being transported by sea. Marine archaeologists and divers have noted that the trains are incredibly well preserved due to the cold and relatively stable environment of the ocean floor. The iron frames remain largely intact, though the wooden portions have long since deteriorated. Some researchers have speculated that the locomotives may have been part of an unfinished railroad project, discarded at sea for reasons unknown. Others believe they were simply an abandoned shipment, forgotten over time, now serving as an eerie yet fascinating piece of maritime history. Experts believe that the locomotives were being transported from Boston to the mid-Atlantic on a barge when they encountered a storm 5 miles off the coast of Long Branch. In that storm, the engines either fell off the barge accidentally or were deliberately pushed off to lighten the load and prevent the ship from going down in the rough seas. In whatever fashion they came to rest in their current location, the end result is that these 2 engines have been underwater and almost perfectly preserved for 160 years. Those were 15 of the most chilling discoveries ever made by deep-sea divers. What do you think about these findings? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.